Streaming live from the beautiful city of Hollywood, Florida, USA. This is SoFloRadio.com.
SoFloRadio.com presents CEOmanship, becoming a leader in today's business world, with your host, Steve Gordon, CEO of Gordon Partnership Group, an international business consulting firm specializing in CEO bootcamp, sales team training, as well as client growth and retention. Visit us at GordonPartnership.com. At Gordon Partnership Group, your success is our business. And now, here's your host, Steve Gordon.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Thank you so much. Sitting here in beautiful...
Like the big boys.
Like the big boys. We are here in absolutely beautiful Hollywood, Florida, and to my right, your left, for those of you watching. By the way, if you're listening right now and you'd like to watch this live stream, you can go to SoFloRadio.com and you can click the button that says
Listen. Watch.
Well, if they want to watch, they would have to...
SoFlo Radio or SoFloTelevision.com.
Either way.
We try to make it really easy. They're big, giant. It looks like a TV.
That would be it.
And they're right at the top of the screen yet.
We can't make it easy enough. I discovered since I started this that there's no such thing as too easy.
So the gentleman to my left is Jorge Rodriguez, famous radio personality.
Thank you. Yeah,
producer,
keep telling people that.
and also producing this show. And to my right, Mark Anoff, an expert in social media. So welcome everybody.
I've been pronouncing his last name wrong this whole time.
I'm not going to ask. Anyway, so this
just
is
call. That's all I got to say. Is just call.
Just there you go. So this is our first show. This is my first show, and I want to thank everybody for listening. I want you to know that it's really important to me that for those of you, as you listen either live or on a download version, your input is very important to the future of this show. So we are really excited to do this, and my goal is to work with as many of you as possible to help you to grow your businesses. As the intro said, my name is Steve Gordon. I am the CEO of the Gordon Partnership Group, located in Jupiter, Florida right now, but we're an international firm. We're a full-service consulting and marketing firm. So that means that we help businesses grow and retain their customers, and we work with CEOs. We have a CEO bootcamp. That was very good. Didn't they tell you not to cough? That I was going to make.
I have control over that.
I'm sorry. So, oh, there you go. So I just brought that up for no reason. So anyway, with that said, we also have a marketing department, and we work with sales leaders and sales teams. Everything from solopreneurs, where you're maybe a real estate professional working with a couple of people on a team.
I've never heard that word before.
It would mean like a small individual who's in business by themselves.
Like a hot dog stand?
Maybe a little bigger than that. But if you wanted to grow that business, sure. Maybe from a stand to a truck, and truck to a restaurant, sure, it could happen.
Okay.
So,
I should be writing this down. I'm getting free information here.
So anyway, I want to just say thank you, everybody. And, one of the things that we were talking about before the show, we had a little briefing, and I happened to be talking with both gentlemen. We were talking about their respective businesses. And, one of the things that happens so often in business is that you have someone who starts a business out of a passion. You know what I'm talking about, right?
No.
I mean... So George, you've been in the radio industry for a very long time,
right? Yes,
and so maybe 20 years.
Well, whatever, since 1982, maybe closer to 30 now at this point, at least.
Okay.
20 years in just the talk radio part of it.
Okay,
so the last 20.
And then you were the producer for the #1 talk radio show in Southern Florida for a while,
right? Yeah, the Neil Rogers show. So if you were a talk radio fan at all, you know who I am, but yeah, I thought that was a great gig, and it would last forever, ever and ever, and
Well, that doesn't always happen. But actually, this one wasn't your fault. Unfortunately, Mr. Rogers passed away.
A year after, but he'd been wanting to retire for a while, and and they wanted him to retire,
well,
the people that we were working for. But that's another story.
It is another story, but our listeners would probably like to hear it at some point.
Sure.
But anyway, so then you moved from what would be sort of, I guess, terrestrial radio, as they call it, to wanting to start your own business. And this is a prime example of an entrepreneur with a dream, with a passion, with something that you just had a burning desire to do, right? And
no.
Oh, come on.
Well, it turned out to be that way. I really didn't think, as we were discussing before the show, I didn't set out to start a business. It just became necessary as the atmosphere in radio kept changing, and radio is shifting to the internet, and the radio in this town wasn't really serving neither the audience nor people that had a good radio show or a good radio product to put out there, and so it became necessary to start the business.
And so let's take that. Let's use you as an example. Can I
absolutely,
kind of
as long as
throw you into the fire a little bit?
Yeah, no, please. As long
and Mark, you're not safe. You're coming next.
I'm often used as an example, but it's not this way. So this is better.
Okay. Well, I promise to be gentle. And but let's talk a little bit about your history. So you start this business, and you bring on some partners. You have, I guess, your first studio. Maybe it was out of your house, or
well, I had a man cave, if you will. I had an apartment that was the clubhouse for myself and my friends. We smoked cigars and played cards there. It was also a computer graveyard already, and radio people have equipment, so we already had a lot of the stuff.
So you had the stuff.
And hobbled it together, and poof, you're on the air. And I mean, we've come a long way since then, obviously.
Yeah,
in a real place with real equipment now.
For those of you who are watching the live stream, I mean, we're in an absolutely beautiful studio with windows, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I talked about that. It was always my dream to have windows. I know, humble dreams.
You have to start somewhere. But we're looking out over what I would refer to as the world's largest food court. It's this beautiful street in Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood, Florida, and it's beautiful to look around. Everyone's walking.
It's come a ways. Hollywood. It was largely forgotten for many years, like South Beach was for a lot of years, until people discovered that, hey, there's some kitschy old buildings here, and so now it's booming now, and I'm happy to be here downtown Hollywood, and happy to have you here.
And thank you. I'm happy to be part of the station, the network, and I couldn't be more thrilled than to have you producing this show.
I do love producing shows. No question about that.
I thought it was me. So anyway, so let's go back to your business for a little bit. So you have this passion. You decide to start this radio station out of your man cave,
right?
And then from there, you migrate where? What happens?
Well, we started. What started out as what I thought would be temporary just kept growing as more and more people showed up wanting to know how to do what I'm doing. And in the beginning, I didn't realize that I should be charging for that because I'm not a business guy, which is
one of the things we're going to talk about
today.
Right,
because you are, and you teach and train people, and I never had any of that benefit. Everything that happened kind of by accident. I was very reactive, not proactive.
Right.
And I didn't go set out to start a business. I just started responding to needs, and people needed this, and so we came up with a way to do that, and people needed this other element, and so we came up with a way to do that, and then eventually it became a business, and now I would like to take it seriously as a business. There's no going back now. For the longest time, I thought that maybe there would be some going back to radio, but there isn't. So this is it, and I do want to take the business seriously, and have had that desire now for a while. And this is a dream radio station. This is the radio station that I always wished that I could work at. And I created the environment that I always wished that I could have for myself. And that environment attracted other people who also wanted to be a part of that same environment, because radio has become very hostile towards both talent and audience alike. And so now this is a very friendly audience for listener and talent.
So, to ask a question of you, George, one of the things that is required of a radio talk show is people phoning into the show. So what's the phone number to call into the show?
It's 954-990-0036. 954-99-000-36 is how we say it. And I guess I actually have to be watching the screen.
Yes. I'm getting text messages from friends.
I'm going to put a mirror up somewhere.
It's saying...
you draw the eyes, so it's very difficult to divide my attention here.
I'm told. I'm told. So I do want to I want to talk a little bit about your business, but it looks to me like we have a call come in.
No, we don't. I'm just making sure. Well, look at all these people.
There you go. All right, I see you calling right there.
Now we do. Hello, Steve's show. That's you're supposed to be saying that.
Oh, I'm supposed to say, hi, this is Steve Gordon. How are you?
Hi, Steve. This is your wife, Lori Gordon.
Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah, now you're in trouble. This is where the good stuff starts. Okay.
Hi, Laura. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, I just wanted to wish you luck. And I wanted to tell you that I know that your fans are going to love the information that you provide every week. And I also want to say on air that, I know people are going to walk away with saying, wow, I've never heard this expressed in that way before about business. I know that all the experience and leadership and everything that you're about, in addition to your kind voice and your great voice and your good looks and everything that you are
Wow.
just going to add such value to people. So I wanted to wish you luck and tell you to break a leg, as they say in show biz.
Thank you, honey. I really appreciate that. I love you. Just so you know, are you still there, honey?
I am.
So you say I'm your wife, but you are an unbelievably special human being in so many ways. But in addition to being just a great person, you are the founder of the Simply Lori Gordon brand. So I'm going to throw you a little bit of a shameless plug here because you really are great at what you do. Lori is a certified holistic health coach and really one of the most compassionate and kind human beings. In fact, probably the most compassionate, kind human being I know. Health. Do you want to tell everybody what a health coach does? I'm putting you on the spot.
Sure. I thought this was supposed to be about you, but okay. I talk to people about using food as medicine and trying to get people off of prescription drugs, getting them off the hamster wheel that so many people are on, especially here in Florida, where, most people go to retire and live quality lives. I'm talking to people about using food as their medicine and learning more about cooking and eating at home and quality meals and maybe even sometimes eating a little less and losing weight as a result, of course.
Oh, that's not fair.
But,
when I met you before we got married, it was, chicken parmesan and chicken cacciolori, as we called it. And, yeah.
Well, I am guilty again. I love to cook, but that's part of the reason why Simply Lori Gordon is really successful at this point. It's because I love to cook. I've just taken all those old approaches to cooking and have turned them into a whole new way of cooking and, teaching people what sort of food to find. Maybe go out of their way at the farmers markets or really look for organic and not be fooled by marketing is something that, we get into and we talk about. So I can go on and on about that all day. I think that you're the star. You're the star of the show today, Steve. And I want everybody to know that you really are a star. You're not only a star to me and my star, but, people love you, and that's the truth. People love you no matter where we go, and in small businesses and in large businesses. And this show just
I love him.
happens to be... Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, that was it. I wanted to profess my love to him also. He's a very charming guy. Should have heard the conversation before the show.
Aw, well, I'd love to hear it now.
Oh, hey, honey.
Tell
So
me.
I just want to. I know you were saying all these wonderful things, and I would never want to interrupt that process. But I do want to say that your website is Simply Lori Gordon, Lori, simplylorigordon.com. You got great recipes, mostly with kale and quinoa. Just kidding. I do want to say this though that you are a coach. People can actually partner with you, and one of the cool things that you do, because you mentioned going and buying the right products, is that you do these tours of stores like Whole Foods, where you actually take people in these groups. It's like a class trip. But you know what? You're right, Lori. People are fooled by the signs that say organic, and then the not organic stuff is right below it, right?
Well, yeah, stores strategically position produce right underneath those signs when most times the food underneath is not organic. So you really have to be careful and know what you're buying.
Yeah, so that's a really fun thing to do, and people can go to your website, simplylorigordon.com, and they can actually schedule a time for you to do that if they live in the Southern Florida area, or no matter where you are in the world, because it's the internet and Skype and things like that. You can actually you can coach people who want to feel better and look better.
You.
So anyway, I know that you have an appointment going on this afternoon. I love you. Be careful, and thank you for calling in.
And thank you, Steve, as well, and I wish you so much luck. So go get them. I'll see you later.
Thanks, baby. I'll talk to you later. right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Wasn't that sweet? You're getting calls all over, man. You're like popular already. I don't know. I mean, it might be a crank call over here, but that's up to you. We get a lot of cranks on my show. Hello, Steve Gordon Show.
Hi, this is Steve.
Yeah, Steve, Joel Eisenberg.
Joel from New York, how are you?
Pretty good, and yourself?
I've never been better, thank you. So
We on the air?
We are live, so be careful what you say.
Hello, Florida.
Hello, Florida. Well, we're all over, and so people are listening on the live stream all over the world potentially.
Sure.
So
China, Italy, Spain.
there you go. So
Joel
Joel is an unbelievable entrepreneur. He is the consummate entrepreneur, and I've known Joel for a very, very long time. Thanks for calling in. Did you have a specific question, Joel, or just?
Well, being that you just gave me that plug, I just want to know where I have to send the $5. I mean, because that's a terrific plug.
$5 doesn't get you a plug.
Actually, I really just called in to wish you luck, to be honest with you. No specific question. I don't know, I guess this is possibly your first day, and what the audience doesn't know is how great Steve is at his entrepreneurship and in teaching people. So, I just figured I'd call in, give you a little plug, tell the audience a little bit about you.
Well, Joel, I appreciate that. And if anyone were listening, for those who were listening, I should say, they probably think this was set up. I mean, my wife.
They might just.
They might,
especially the wife part. Yeah.
The wife might have been a little set up, but not Joel. Joel, thank you. And again, you were a great friend, and still are, but a great neighbor when I was up in New York. And we commiserated a lot on a lot of different business ideas. And if anyone has more ideas and the most ideas of anyone I ever met, it's Joel. But he implements, and that's what I love about working with Joel, is that he's not just a talker, he's a doer. So I can't wait to hear what your next project is.
It's funny, I have a lot actually going on right now. My company is called Projects in Motion Incorporated, and which I'm the CEO, and it's a new endeavor that I'm doing. And I'm doing a crowdsource funding that I'm going to be launching in probably about 5 to 7 days. It's about a children's book that I authored. So, in all the things that, you and I have done in the past, it's amazing how much actually comes into play, because people think you put up a crowdsource funding and it just, runs itself, and people, it's like lotto, you hit it. But it's all about marketing. It's all about, getting out there, showing who you are, and telling your story. So I just thought, I'd share a little bit. That's all.
Well, Joel, I appreciate that, and we'll definitely talk about crowdfunding and all of that in a different show. And actually, I would love to have you come on as a guest and speak more, and we'll
Anytime.
kind of report back on how your project's going, and people can refer back to this first show to get an idea of where we came from, and we'll track your history and your progress.
That sounds great. Well, listen, you have a terrific time. Say hello to everybody, and only the best of luck.
Joel, thanks. Have a great day.
All right, pal.
Thanks for
See you
calling
later.
in.
Wow.
Well,
You got more callers in your first 10 minutes than I've gotten this last month. Well, real callers, I mean, I get people, calling up and cranking me all the time.
Well,
just
you know,
wait
give
till
me
you
a
get
couple of
famous
weeks.
enough to get some crank calls, right?
That's when it's happening. So let's go back to you for a minute.
Please.
Not that once you feel forgotten there for
Let's
a second.
do it. I'd love to be the example.
So
Let's
so
start
now
it off.
I'm going to fast forward
Sure.
a little bit. So you've got this creation, you've got this radio station.
Right.
Now you've got shows, and you've got to start to monetize your business.
Right, and
how's that going?
Well, my first mistake, it's been difficult, and I've learned a lot since I started. My first mistake was that I modeled. Well, it wasn't exactly a mistake. For better or worse, I modeled everything that we're doing out of conventional radio, or at least I used that as the template, because that was the business that I knew. That was the business that I was in since I was 17. I worked every position in a radio station at one point or another, so I understood the broadcasting business and how that worked. And so the way that works in a conventional sense is the station hires a talk show host. So I was using talk radio as an example. Station hires a staff to produce radio shows, and then they hire a sales staff to sell commercials that they then play on that radio show. And if they do their job correctly, which is something the radio has long since abandoned, by the way, the object that a lot of people forget is to move product for their client. And in any going all the way back to the ancient times. The performer draws the crowd and then pitches the product once the crowd is all gathered. And now that we have electricity and magnetic waves, that's still the same thing. The entertainers, whether you're singing a song or telling a joke, the entertainer draws an audience together, and then once that audience is there, you pitch a product to them. That's where the money comes from to pay the entertainer. And so that's exactly the model that I followed. I thought I was going to be selling spots, basically, but a lot of things are very different about internet broadcasting, I discovered. And so selling spots was, well, first of all, and I knew this, it's a full-time job. Most radio stations have a staff of 10 to 20 salespeople or more, and each one of those people is engaged in a full-time job. And in full-time, I mean, there's no off time for a salesperson. Client calls at 10 o'clock at night, they have to take that call. That's money. So a pool of people like that occupying a cubicle city inside a giant room at the radio station to keep the station log, which were all what we use to we play the commercials that are listed there, to keep the log at 50% capacity or 75% capacity requires all of those people working very diligently to sell those ads, and I didn't have that. And so it became necessary to be that person myself. And I couldn't talk about spreading myself too thin. I'm not a good salesperson to begin with, and if I was a good salesperson, I would have chosen that as a career path. So it became very difficult to monetize my activity.
So let's use this as a perfect example, because in my business, I refer to this as what we call a jobbie.
Okay.
Right. A jobbie is something where someone has a job that basically started out of a passion. But when I meet with a CEO of a business, and one of the first things that we talk about, because sometimes we have to do a bit of a reality check, is I say to them, if something were to happen to you, do you think your business would continue the way that it is today? And you don't have to answer that question. Now I'm kind of talking to our audience, and I want you to ask yourself that question, whether you're a solopreneur who's running an insurance industry or a restaurant. That's a great example. Somebody's a great cook, and they say, I'm going to open a restaurant, and they get to a certain point. But what happens in most business is that there's this critical mass, right? So you have a combination, and one line on the axis, and I know those in the radio can't see, but I'm kind of drawing a line up like a graph with my hands. And one line on the axis is new customer acquisition, sales. And then if you were to crisscross and go the opposite direction, that would be servicing your customers.
Okay.
And at a certain point, George, what happens is that you hit critical mass and the lines crisscross. And when they crisscross, you can't grow, because any more customer addition or customer acquisition gets pounded down by the fact that you're servicing those customers. So you have to. So what happens with the solopreneurs and what happens with small business owners, Mark, you could probably relate to this, is that you find yourself in a situation where you now go from really good growth. So your restaurant goes from zero to $1 million, $2 million, $3 million a year, whatever the size of that restaurant is, but then you flatten out.
Right.
You don't necessarily go backwards, but if you're standing still, you're not moving forward.
Sure.
Right. So the idea is that we've got to figure out now how to become a real corporation. Because up until now, you're the personality. But let's go back to that question. If something were to happen, not necessarily to you, because I would want to paint a negative picture on you.
It's already happened. Sorry.
Well, but not by me. And I'm not one who throws any darts at anybody. But if you're out, as a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, a small business owner, a medium-sized business owner, listening today, and you're thinking to yourself, wow, that's me. That's my corporation. That's what we do. We come in there and we help you to understand that this is the moment of truth. Because what typically happens, and I could talk about so many clients without mentioning names, I get in there and I sit in the office for a couple of days, and I start to recognize that the CEO, who is also the business owner, might have actually inherited that company from their mother and father, or it was a family business, or they started it themselves 20 years ago and they've been doing it the same way. But that individual finds themselves in a situation where they are CEO, they are human resources. They're hiring, firing, they're handwriting paychecks. Maybe they've gotten to QuickBooks and they're printing them, but that's a big deal. They're trying to do social media, or they're asking their teenager to do it. They are trying to design a website, and they're trying to do marketing and advertising. They're also running to Costco because when the coffee runs out, there's nobody else who can do it because they can't delegate. Do you know why they can't delegate? Do you know why, Mark?
I know some of the reasons why they can't delegate.
Well, I'll tell you one. How's this? I won't put you on the spot. The big reason is because nobody does it better than they do.
This is a fact.
It is a fact. And when you start this business, it's your passion, it's your love, it's your baby. You've done this. And so what happens is you go, oh, my God, no, George, I got it. I'll get the coffee because nobody drives better. If I can get to Costco 5 minutes faster than you can, I'll do it. All right? This is the moment of truth. And so this is where we sit down and we say, look, do you want to be a big business or do you want to stay where you are?
Right.
And if you want to be a big business, the first thing we need to do is to delegate, to hire people. I mean, look at any major corporation. There's always a corporate structure. There's always a corporate ladder, and there's an org chart, and it doesn't have your name in every position.
Right.
I mean, you might have salespeople.
Mathematically, you can't. You can't. You start dividing your attention. Something is going to suffer. Something is going to slip.
It's true. And so it's always about return on investment. And so if you can hire somebody to do your social media marketing, for example, and maybe they charge anywhere from a few $100 to a few $1,000s a month, depending upon what kind of program you want, then if your return on that investment is more, then it's good. I mean, if I said to you, look, I'll give you 100, I'm sorry, you give me 100 and I'll give you 200, would you do it?
Sure.
Right. Well, so that's what I'm talking about. But it's hard to let go. Speaking of social media, so I have Mark Anoff here next to me, to my right, for those of you watching on the live video stream. Mark is a social media expert, and you're most proficient, from what I understand, in LinkedIn.
Well, LinkedIn is just one aspect. I think if we take it from the start, whether you're doing an audio, a written, or a video type of program, there are different applications that you can utilize for social media. And most businesses don't understand that, and they don't understand what makes a good video, what makes a good audio, or what makes a good written explanation, and they just write it and forget about everything else, the foundation that makes it good.
So you gave me a couple of very good. Now, can I ask you to give these tips online? Because I know you charge for these, but
we'll give one or tips online, but not too many.
Okay, so I hope I don't screw the goose, so to say. But you gave me a couple of very good ideas the other day when we were having our first meeting, and one thing you said to me is, video. Video on LinkedIn. Video. We talked a lot about LinkedIn, and I am LinkedIn is my flavor of choice these days. For professional reasons, I've made some incredible contacts, and you really helped me sharpen my saw. And so for those of you who are looking for some advice on LinkedIn, someone like Mark is really a very, very powerful investment. I don't want to say tool, because that would be the wrong word to use, but Mark's great. And one of the things he talked about was video. I don't want to. And before you answer that question, the other thing you talked about was the timeliness of when you upload your content. And so I hope that wasn't too much, but you can tease the audience if you want.
Well, we'll tease the audience a little bit. First off, I'm only part of the toolkit to really make a business grow. So you need to go to SteveGordonPartnership.com.
That'd be actually GordonPartnership.com. But
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But you go there and start, because then he takes someone that does what I do and helps them work with you to really be better. Only being part of the solution keeps you as that part of the solution. So whether you're doing a video presentation, you've got to make sure that you place it right on the social media aspects of it. And whether you're a radio station, a production company, a restaurant, or even another coach of some sort, you want to utilize video, you want to utilize the social media to help bring about new customers and client retention, because the clients want to see what you're doing for them. So it's not just the answer to be all answers, it's just part of the solution. And I recommend that anybody that wants to grow a business, number one, you have to you have to let go a certain range. You can't do it all. So you've got to have people out there that are going to assist you, such as Steve Gordon and his group. So we are only part of the solution. We're going to make it best for you. But again, I have to emphasize that we're not the answer. And anybody that tells you that social media is the entire answer is really giving you some misguided truths. And remember one thing also, you get what you pay for.
So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, how would they reach you?
They can reach me at markanoffsales@gmail.com, or they can give me a call at 954-667-4614. And those are the best ways to reach me.
That's great. Well, we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about social media in a few minutes. Anyway, so I think at this point we're going to take it.
This is the first commercial break. It's all very exciting. I would try to train. This is a little bit like we're training each other here. We do these things in show business called cues. So this is where the other person knows when to do their line or otherwise hit an element, and that's what I wrote down there. Is the magic word.
I should have probably read that.
You can read it now.
Now I'm reading it. I'm a little late. All right, I guess it's your time to say something then.
No, you have to say those magic words.
Anyway, we're going to be right back with more on SoFloRadio.com. This is...
Welcome to the Moses Love Hour, filled with friends, live music, and conscious living. Take some time and come on the adventures aboard Mission Control. From the I Love Yoga studios in Dania Beach, Florida, USA. Streaming live Sunday nights from 9 to 10 on SoFloRadio.com.
Put a team of professional consultants behind your home or business computer with Key Information Solutions, providing solutions to your internet and computing needs while keeping you on the cutting edge of technology. Preventative maintenance and networking support, hardware and custom-built computers. Let Key Information Solutions be your personal tech staff for your home or office with affordable hourly, monthly, or annual rates to fit anyone's budget. Call Key Information Solutions now, 954-973-3374. That's 954-973-3374. Or visit keyinformation.com.
Broadcast radio production, sound design, audio, talk shows, commercials, trailers, voiceovers, webcasting, engineering, music. Learn how for a lot less than $10,000. Send a text to 954-803-9717. That's 954-803-9717.
Join the radio revolution. SoFloRadio.com.
So we're back.
Just like that.
Just like that. Thank you so much, George and Mark. This is Steve Gordon, CEO and founder of the Gordon Partnership Group, and our show, CEOmanship. We'll be here every Monday at 2 o'clock Eastern time.
How about that?
SoFlo Radio, I love it.
We're just populating with live programs, which, back to the example, this is what happened. All this attraction, all these people wanted to have radio shows, and I had no idea other than how to produce the radio show. I knew how to produce the shows, just not monetize it. But meanwhile, back to your
we're going to talk about that. So, if you'd like to contact me, and you can, of course, go to GordonPartnership.com, GordonPartnership.com. We actually offer the ability to communicate, do a free coaching session. We do it usually by Skype or by FaceTime, and you can just fill out a little contact me form and tell me who you are and what you want to talk about, and we'd be happy to schedule that for you. On Facebook, there are two. There's Gordon Partnership, and there's also Follow Steve Gordon. That's Follow Steve Gordon on Facebook. And on Instagram, it's Gordon Partnership. So come say hi, and please connect with me that way. Social media is a great thing. We were just talking about that with Mark Anoff. And I want to tell you this show today is sponsored by grapeswine.com, GRAPESWINE.com. This is an unbelievable company. I got to tell you about this company, George. These guys are based in Connecticut and New York, and they source unbelievably beautiful wine from vineyards, directly from the vineyards all over the world. And they assign you a wine advisor. It's kind of like a concierge, somebody who actually knows who you are, George. And I mean, not necessarily who you are, but
They know me?
Well, they might, but after the show they will. But they get to know you. They get to know your palate, what kind of wine you like, and your price point.
How do they get in my mouth?
They that's very funny. I get that.
While I'm sleeping?
That's your palate. That's right.
Sneaks.
Well, that's a wine term for what you like in terms of wine. But these guys, your wine advisor will call you about once every 6 weeks, and they'll say, "Hey, George, it's so and so from Grapes and Wine, and I know that you love that Napa."
I just want to be able to say that at a party when I'm drinking
you have
wine.
a wine advisor.
Well, my wine advisor suggested this when I was, I
want to tell you
really want to impress somebody with that one.
That you don't think that's
wine
impressive?
advisor,
Sitting in the
that's
locker
very
room?
impressive.
I think you should put out the fact that you have a wine advisor from
Don't
Grapes
buy
and
that
Wine.
watch. Get a wine advisor. Really
Absolutely.
impress your friends.
Well, you know what? They don't charge you for that service, and then they ship the wine directly to your home. Pretty much there are a few states in America that don't allow wine to be shipped, but for the most part, and for those of you here in Florida, then we are one of the lucky ones that do get delivery. I can tell you firsthand. But it's great because your wine advisor calls you up and they can give you a mixed case. They'll say, we know you love that Napa Cab last month, but I got to tell you, Mark, we have a new Argentinian wine that will blow your mind.
Wines,
right?
by the way.
Oh, there you go. How did I know that?
I don't know.
I don't know, right in your mind. So Grapes Wine is a great company. You can go on to grapeswine.com and you can search their website. And on the website, they typically sell the kind of wine you'd buy in your local store.
Okay.
But once you have a wine advisor, that's when they get to
I really need a wine advisor, especially with food pairings. Did
Yeah,
they help you with that? Because
absolutely.
I just keep ordering red wine with fish, and I'll never learn.
I will tell you, not to get off on a tangent, but there was a night where I had a very, very important client meeting. And I actually called my wine advisor, and I said, if I tell you where I'm going, can you help me pick some wines? And my wine advisor said, tell me the name of the restaurant. He actually went on the website and said, okay, if your client orders poultry, order this wine. If your client orders meat, order this wine. And if they order fish, order this wine.
What a great way to pretend to be smart.
You know what? I look like a genius. and it really works. So quick shout out to my wine advisor and to grapeswine.com. The other thing I want to talk about today is an unbelievable program that right now is in 19 states and throughout the United States. It's called the Smart Homeowners Program. You can go to the website, which is homeownersnetwork.us, homeownersnetwork.us. These guys actually give you up to $10,000 based on the value of your home. And they do that in exchange for one thing, and that is you own a home and you know you're going to sell it, and you're more than likely going to use a broker from your own home community. And so they formed a broker-to-broker network with all the brokers in most major communities in 19 states and more coming. And all they say is that if and when you decide to sell your home, if you just simply pick a broker from the network, which is everybody who's in your community anyway.
And I happened to have gone on the site, and I saw that any broker that I've ever heard of was on there.
Right, so you're going to do it anyway. It's like if I said to you, something silly that you're always going to do anyway, I would pay you to do it. Would you take the money? The answer is yes. So there's no catch. That's the biggest challenge this company runs into. People go, come on, sounds too good. You're going to give me money for doing something I'm already going to do. But check out the homeownersnetwork.us, or in Florida, it's floridasmarthomeowners.com or Smart Homeowners Program. Just go to homeownersnetwork.us. And of course, simply Lori Gordon, Lori Gordon, for all your health coaching needs. Anyway, so we were talking. I realized the clock is ticking here.
Wow.
Time
flies when you're having fun. And this is fun.
Yeah.
For all of us. I mean,
and you only wanted to do 15 minutes.
I did. I did say half an hour originally, but you're right. So let's get back a little bit to your business, but it could be anybody's business. I think it's so important that, when we talk about delegation, but also the other piece of the puzzle is when you have people that are working for you, people respond to recognition and people respond to praise really, really well. And, think about this, right? You go to work and you come home, and in most cases, not mine, but in many cases, maybe your spouse you're excited about something that happened at work, and maybe your spouse, instead of saying, how was your day, or congratulations on that raise, it's, oh my God, the kids were terrible. and you need to go talk to our son, or our daughter did this, or I have to leave, go make dinner. And so you don't get that recognition often that really we thrive on. Because when you're kids, right, everyone's like, oh, great job, good job, Johnny, and good job, Sally. And we start to associate that praise with like that endorphin release that makes us feel really good, right? So often I meet business owners who, because they're so frustrated time-wise, because they're doing so many things, they're often short with their employees. They don't give them that recognition.
I'm often short. I'm short.
No,
not with my employees, with everybody.
No, there you go. So one of the things that we try to teach people to do really is to take the time to recognize people for what they've done, because people will respond to that praise so well. And you'll see that when people take a pride of ownership in their business, they will do more than they will for money. Recognition, it's been proven that people will do more for recognition than they will for a couple of extra dollars, even though you can't spend recognition, but it makes you feel good, it makes you feel important. And in many cases that drives you forward to want to be even more productive than you were. And so we work on that a lot.
I'm going to tell the people that I'm paying now that I'm going to give them recognition, though, instead of money.
So that leads me to a story. It's actually a blog article that I wrote. It's on GordonPartnership.com, and the title of this particular one, I have to find it here, but it's about a woman named Rita Pearson. It's called Everybody Needs a Champion. So if you go to the article section of GordonPartnership.com, Rita Pearson is a third generation. Actually, she passed away. So it's very sad. She's an unbelievable woman. She was a third generation educator from the New York City area. And she worked in a not so great section of the city. And Rita was assigned I don't want to say this nicely, but difficult children, hard kids to teach.
Problem children, sure.
And you can, by the way, you can go to my website and actually watch her video, and she's phenomenal. But one of the things she told these children is, you might think you're here in my classroom because of the fact that maybe you did something wrong or you were put here for a reason. And she said, there is a reason. It's because you're the best. You're the best, and they put you here because they want you to be a shining example. Essentially, these aren't exactly her words, a shining example of how a classroom should run, how students should behave, how you should walk in the hall, how you should take your tests, how you should get on the school bus, how you should do everything, because you're the example. You are what everyone else is going to look up to. So here are these kids who everybody else basically kicked to the curb. And she starts the school year by saying, oh, no. You're here because you were chosen.
Right.
You're waiting to hear the rest of the story, aren't
I
you?
am. I'm compelled.
It is compelling. And so she talks about, for example, one child who I think he, maybe out of 20 questions, I think the story goes, and again, you can watch the video, maybe he got one or two questions correct, and the rest were incorrect. And when she was returning the exams, the child said, oh, I failed. And she said, no, you got two questions right. And think about the way that she communicated to that child. Instead of feeling like a failure,
right,
she said, no, you got two questions right. And I want you to think about this as a business owner, as a manager, as a sales manager, as somebody who deals with people, even a husband or a wife. I always say to people, it's not what you say, but it's how you say it.
Right.
There you go. No. Right. So it's important that we communicate and that we praise and that we help people. And, these kids went on, and she talks about how some of these kids came back years later and said to her, you changed my life. I would never have gone on to college. I would have never gone on to get this job. I would have stayed in the inner city. And it was because you loved me. It was because you cared about me, maybe more than my mother and father, maybe more than anybody else in my life. And I'll tell you that I have a couple of clients, and I'm thinking as I say this, I want to say it the right way, but I have 1 or 2 clients that I've taken on that are very young entrepreneurs in their early 20s.
Okay.
And one in particular I'm working with right now, and I may bring him on the show at some point in the future. He is a great guy with a great idea, but didn't have any guidance, and he had a tough upbringing. Didn't have a father figure in his life for a very long time, and his mother, very nice woman, but nobody wrapped their arm around him and said, I'm going to show you how to be a business person. So here's a guy with a great idea, but no guidance.
Right.
And I met this gentleman because he actually his company did some work for me, and I was so compelled by the what he did that I actually went out and I started to talk to him, and I said, I'm interested. Maybe I want to invest in your company, or I want to learn more. And for a lot of reasons, I decided, this wasn't something for me to invest in at this time. But I said to him, I'm going to take you on as under my wing. But you have to stick with me all the time. And it's not going to be easy because he wasn't used to a lot of structure. But I said, if you want to grow this business from small to big, and I think you can, because I love the idea he had. We're going to say that as a teaser for a future show.
Let's rip it off.
There you go. but I'll find that on your show next week.
Oh boy, no!
I had that moment going there. My audience
I've been ripped off
connecting.
more than anybody I know.
So let me reconnect for a second and just say, look, this guy's great, and I really I like him, and I said, but look, we're going to work together, and it's not going to be easy because I'm going to tell you what you need to hear and not what you want to hear. But if you stick with me and you follow the plans, we're going to make some money. You're going to make some money because I don't want anything. I just want to give back, pay it forward.
Yeah.
Because I was very fortunate. I came from a good family, and I have a very successful father who ran a business and sold the business, and I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot from other people on the way. It's kind of jumping around a little bit. There was a book of successful people who wrote sort of their one-page stories.
Like their bio thing.
Yeah, and Ryan Seacrest, I know I'm bouncing around, but Ryan Seacrest, we know Ryan, of course, because we're in the media. Ryan Seacrest, and I'm kind of bastardizing this a little bit, but what he essentially said was, I am where I am today because I never said no to a meeting. And what he meant was, look, I didn't always say yes to the opportunity that was presented.
Right.
But one door opened another.
Sure.
And that next door opened another. And you never know who you're talking to.
No, you don't.
Right? And who they could be or who they can lead you to. I always say it's not who you know, it's who they know.
Right.
I mean, look, you and I are sitting here today because of my having coffee with Mark.
Mutual association. Yeah. 2 mutual friends, and I don't even know who the other guy is.
That's actually crazy. I'm sitting here and my cell phone's going off because I didn't turn it off, sorry. Yeah, but it's actually the young man that I was talking about. But I can't bring him up on the radio. But I'm just going to...
we'll bring him into the studio one of these days.
Yeah, he will. You'll like him. Anyway, so... think about where you are as an employer, as a boss, as a manager, and how do you talk to people? How do you treat them? Do you drive them by pushing them down, or do you lift them up and create a feeling of harmony, of appreciation?
Oh yeah, that's not my problem. My problem is I'm too nice, if anything, which is I do what people want me to do, whether they're an employee or a client. I totally forget the part where I asked them for money.
Well, at the end of the day, it is a business.
Sure.
And it comes down to, again, structure and understanding what your costs are and making sure that you cover those costs.
I think that's part of my problem is I didn't think of it that way when it started. It just kind of developed as a business around me. And now it is, and it has to be.
Without sounding like therapy, why do you think that you don't feel like it's okay to ask for money?
It's a personality flaw. I'm not a very good salesperson.
But that's not sales. Well, you're providing a valuable service.
It's like I want to give people money. I don't want to ask them for money. I'm good at a lot of things. I'm very multifaceted, and I'm very quick to brag about the things that I'm good at, and very quick to admit my shortcomings. And that's one of them. Is I'm very I don't know. I don't want to send soup back at a restaurant. I don't want to hurt people's feelings. I will jump off a cliff. I've skateboarded down Appalachian highways. I will do dangerous things, but I don't want to hurt someone's feelings.
You don't
I'm
wanna
afraid
rock
of
the boat.
that. I don't want confrontation.
So here's a great way to.
And I know it's all up in my head. It's
Well, so here's a couple things you can do. All right, so just some basic thoughts. Number one, you ought to have, I'm sure you do, a menu of what you offer and what those services cost.
Right.
And the second thing is that it's always easiest to bring up the most. There's the book. It's called Eat a Frog. Basically, the
Is it
idea
about French people?
It is not about French people.
Okay.
It is about doing the worst thing, your most feared thing, first thing in the morning. So if you know that you have to do 10 things today on your list,
Can I go to the bathroom first?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes. but the idea being that you. If you do the worst thing first during your workday, then
the rest of the day is.
That's right.
That's actually a pretty good idea.
So it works the same way.
Kind
in
of
presentation.
scared about tomorrow now.
Well, but one of the things I'm a voracious note writer. My wife would tell you that
You
there's
should see my
paper
show
everywhere.
notebook. Likewise,
I don't keep my stuff in a notebook. I have Post-its everywhere. That's my flaw. But I do write things down because I don't like to forget anything.
Right.
But let's get back for a second to your situation. So
fear.
Well, it's not a fear, but here's the thing: you can bring it out early. So they say, the objection is not an objection if you bring it up first, right? So if you know that, well, I mean, it might be, but the idea is to kill that objection early. So if you know that your biggest fear is that you charge, and I'm just going to say $1. We're just going to pick $1 to advertise on the show. Obviously, it's more, but so when you're talking to someone who might potentially advertise, you could say, let me just begin by saying, here's our rates. Mm-hmm. And just get it out there. All right, nobody's sitting here with you thinking to themselves, "Oh, I guess he's going to pay me to advertise on here." Right? So they know that there's a cost associated with doing business with you. And so the easiest thing for you to do is to bring it up often and early.
I can honestly tell you that never would have occurred to me. Ever. And I'm not being sarcastic at all.
I'm not sure.
I have all these conversations, and it's easy to think that. I have conversations with people about what we do and everything, and I'll go the entire conversation without ever getting to the money part because I am so afraid to.
Wait, so just get it out. So this, I'll role play with you a little bit. So you're the potential client, and I would say, so here at SoFlo Radio, we have a myriad of different shows, and this is the potential listening audience live, and then we also have our downloads, and people listen down, right? So
YouTube videos, it's we're out there.
So I believe that you'd be a great match for the Gordon Partnership Show, and that's because it's called CEOmanship, and you would fit right in there because you own a copier company, and we're talking to a lot of business people. So let me just start by saying that there's different rates for different advertisements, and you can do short-term or long-term in 30 seconds or a minute, and you could do a live or we could record it for you. There'll be a little extra charge. The fee is 75 cents for a recorded and $1.50 for live. But if you would like to be on for a 3-month segment, then it's longer. But tell me more about your business. Who do you want to connect with? And now I go back to starting asking you questions. So it's like a balloon.
It sounds like you've done this before.
Maybe a couple of times.
Okay.
So think of it like, you ever watch a magician who's making balloon animals, right? So
Sure.
he or she blows up the balloon a little bit, and when it gets very close to the end, they let a little air out, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of
They leave a reservoir tip. I'm not sure for expansion.
yes, exactly, for expansion. So the idea being that you want to push until you kind of get that objection. So you go and you say, so this is what it's going to cost, and now if you object, then I kind of let the air out. So let's just say you go. So
we have a sound effect for that.
No sound effects, but let's stay focused for just a second, and I'm going to role play with you. So you're gonna push back a little bit. So I'm going to say, so it's 75 cents. And I'm just making these numbers up, of course. Right, 75 cents for the recorded, $1.50 for live, and you go
like, that's a lot of money there. What am I getting for that? And can you guarantee results and everything? Which
well, so I would respond to you.
Advertising is gambling.
So now I come back and I say to you, well, look, we're advertising a copier, and maybe I'd say to you, I understand that it seems like it's a lot of money. So I'm totally validating your concern. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just saying I understand. And then I might turn back to you and say, now, obviously, there's some, you got to understand that we have costs too, and we want to make sure you're happy. and I might start asking you some questions again to sort of deflate the balloon. So I might say, so tell me about the products that you think you might want to advertise. Let's take the money out of this for a minute. Let's just tell me about your target audience. Tell me how I could make this good for you. Because at the end of the day, George, you know what? A great business transaction is when both sides are happy. I need to pay the bills at the radio station. You know that. And I want you to sell product, so much product, that you can't wait to run your next ad. In fact, you're going to start sponsoring more shows. So let's kind of push the money aside for a minute, and let's talk a little bit more about you. So now I've kind of brought you back in. I've let a little air out of the balloon. And then I go back. I go, now you're starting to tell me that you sell these copiers. They're $3,000 to $5,000. And I might say to you, George, so I'm guessing that there's decent profit in the copier business. Mm-hmm. And you might say, well, yeah, that's a pretty good profit. So I say, well, if we even sold one copier for you a month, plus brand name recognition, that would more than pay for everything. So why don't we give it maybe like a 90-day try? We can tailor something to you. And you have to ask. You have to ask. Think about this. You go to a dance and you're in school. For those of you who aren't watching, he just held his breath. But the truth is, right, Mark, you go to a dance in high school and there's that really pretty girl across the room and you look at her all night. And then you watch some other guy dancing with her. And it kills you, and you think, I should have done that. Well, the truth is you should have, because she would have said yes to you, but you just never asked.
Correct.
And if you don't ask, you don't get. And that's the truth. And you know what? What's the harm in asking? So maybe I ask you to buy advertising for me, and you say, no, not now. And I go, okay, no, not now doesn't mean no, not ever. It just means no, not now. And so, we'll come back and we'll readdress it. I ask you for permission to stay in touch with you, to let you know what other advertisers are doing, to see if we can't tailor a program for you that works within your budget. There's so many things we can do, and it's okay to ask. Give yourself permission to ask for money.
It took, when I tried to be a radio sales rep years ago, read a book, listened to some tapes. They had me listen to tapes. We went to a sales seminar. Nobody ever told me that, to get the money out of the way up front. Nobody. Never would have occurred to me.
Just when I do presentations, I always put out what I think is the biggest concern or biggest fear early. Because then, if it means signing a contract, I actually say to people, look, when we're done tonight, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to ask you for a decision. And part of that decision is we're going to fill out this paperwork, and I show them, I go, this is what you're going to have to fill out here, and this is what I'm going to fill out here. And I leave that contract on the table, but I don't call it a contract because nobody wants to sign a contract. I say, here's the paperwork. And I leave that paperwork on the table, and I bring it out within the first 30 seconds. And so when I get to that point where I hate to use the word closing, but we're wrapping up a sales discussion, I say, so, remember we talked before about what we're going to need to do to get this rolling. So in order to get this started, we need to just kind of take it from here. And the contract's on the table. It's not like I'm reaching into my briefcase to now grab a contract, and it totally destroys the ether. And we'll talk about the ether next time, because I see our time is starting to run down.
Oh, well, that clock's maybe a minute fast, but yeah, no, it does. The time does fly. You just reminded me of Glengarry Glen Ross. It's one of my favorite movies. I consider it a horror movie.
That's a great movie. I love that movie.
It's riveting, and everybody's performance is Oscar worthy, and the story is compelling. And I watched that with sweaty palms and a dry mouth. But to me, it's scary because these people are engaged in doing something that I consider frightening, and it plays out in the movie when you watch the Jack Lemmon character crash and burn. I'm like, I feel so very sympathetic. With him, and he's way better at it than I am.
Sales is a very noble profession, and the truth is that nothing would get done if there weren't sales professionals, because product has to move to the end consumer.
Right. It's and salesmen and truckers, man.
There you go. So anyway, I hope that helped a little bit.
It did actually. Now I just have to apply it, because easier said than done. I mean, that was good advice, but even everything that I did hear on those sales tapes and at the sales seminar, I had a difficult time applying it because that's not my personality.
You know what? Nobody likes a quote unquote salesperson. So take the books and throw them out, because the books are written by gurus. But at the end of the day, just be yourself, and don't be afraid to ask for what you want. Go be that guy at the dance who says, would you please dance with me? And if she says no, go to the next one and say, would you dance with me? And if she says no, eventually you'll be dancing. And that's the same thing with sales. So it's been an unbelievably fast hour. I can't believe it.
I know, and it's fun.
And so thank you for helping to make this a very, very easy transition into my first show. And I'm very much looking forward to being back here in this seat with SoFloRadio.com next week, and with you, George Rodriguez.
You got like a whole minute that you can just sit here and kibitz, as we like to say.
Or he could promote who he is and what he does.
Well, that's what I mean by kibitz.
And so let me say thank you again, Mark Anoff, social media expert, and George Rodriguez, radio personality, great producer, and I'm looking forward to future shows. My name is Steve Gordon. I am the CEO and founder of the Gordon Partnership Group. That's GordonPartnership.com. Please come in there and fill out a comment form and leave us your name and your email address and your phone number to set up a free initial consultation to talk about your business and how we can help you grow. You can find us on Facebook at Gordon Partnership, or follow Steve Gordon for some more fun videos. And don't forget Simply Lori Gordon for your health needs, because if you're wealthy but not healthy, that's not so good either. And it's been great. So we're looking forward to seeing you next week.
Had a good time, Steve.
I loved it.
Mark?
Very good.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.
You're listening to SoFloRadio.com.